Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, shockingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Wednesday, August 26th, 2026, and this is live stream 1,356. Sixes are wild tonight. So if you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. We just hang out talking about the latest in tabletop role-playing game news. And then, depends on what might be going on for the night, we could tackle a topic related to our hobby, or we take a first look at a game, or very rarely I'll share a live review, which we might end up doing with the upcoming Dungeons and Dragons books. Because I think the way they're going to ship out, I will probably get those, I don't know, Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So we might do some live reviews with that. And again, maybe not. I don't know. Might show up tomorrow and I'll share my reviews tomorrow. Well, start sharing them tomorrow because there are 2 books. Regardless, tonight, you're not too worried about next week, but tonight, we're going to dive on in and take a first look at Rivers of London, Underground, Overground from Chaosium Inc. This includes 4 separate adventures for the Rivers of London urban fantasy role-playing game based on the works of Ben Abramovich. I think it's Abramovich. I think there's an N in there if I remember correctly. We'll find out in just a few moments. Well, probably about 40 minutes or so. Now, of course, when you're not watching videos here on the channel, you should be visiting thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are never going to see here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, because this is a live show, that means there is chat available. So if you are a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour, you can take part in chat. So if you check out that box and you want to say howdy, maybe get a question, comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my absolute best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Captain Infinity Time Travel Police. Kathy Evans is with us, as is Semper Buffo, Danny Gable, Mark Hawkswell, Pesty Trekkie, Troy Cornelson is also chiming on in. And we might have the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D as our chat moderator this evening, lurking in the shadows. Yeah, I'll start busting that out once we get closer to Halloween. I'll be doing my laugh. Yes, I see Boomerman Dan Webb is with us, and Miss Sarah D is with us, saying hello. Tessie Trekkie says, Underground, Overground, Wombling free. The Wombles of Wimbledon Common are we. We make great use of the things that we find, things that the everyday folk leave behind. I'm not familiar with that little bit of poetry. And Captain Finity says, so is Great Uncle Bulgaria available as a player character? I don't know. I haven't looked at this yet. Gee willikers. Right, so before we dive on into the news, man, what a bummer. We had another famous person pass away, Tim Curry. And he was also 80 years old, as was Dolly Parton. Not that it has anything to do with each other. I just was like, oh, okay. They're both 80. You know, interestingly enough, about a year ago, CBS Sunday Morning did an interview with Tim Curry. It was Ben Mankiewicz from Turner Classic Movies. And I watched it. It was like 8-9 minutes, something like that. And then about 2 weeks ago, for some strange reason, the full length interview, which was like 23 minutes or something, popped up in my YouTube recommendations, like out of nowhere. And of course, I watched it because I always thought Tim Curry was a pretty interesting cat. And I ended up going to Rocky Horror a couple of times with some friends who were super into it. I was not. I was just like, yeah, it's midnight. Let's go hang out. That's cool. So, I mean, I thought it was fine. I like the music. But anyway, yeah, what a bummer. What a bummer. There will be a contest tonight. And just so you know, the trivia question will involve Tim Curry. So let's jump on into the news because the updated referees book for Old School Essentials is going to be arriving in November from Necrotic Gnome and Exalted Funeral. Here's what I know. Return to the roots of fantasy adventure. Grab your graph paper, prepare your fiendish minions, and prime your traps. Glory, wonder, and doom await. This book contains full guidelines for creating adventures and running campaigns, over 330 fearsome monsters, and well over 300 wondrous magic items. You'll find simple rules which let imagination and fast-paced action take the spotlight. Clear, modern presentation, which makes the game easy to learn and quick to reference. It is also 100% compatible with the 1980s Dungeons & Dragons rules, with decades of classic adventures and supplements essentially at your fingertips. This is the second of two core books which referees need to have. Players can get away with just having the player's book, but referees need to have the referee's book as well as the Old School Essentials player's book. The 256-page A5-sized hardcover with PDF will carry an MSRP of $45. The PDF is available right now. You can score it over at DriveThruRPG for $22.50. And the updated player's book and referee's book were my giveaways last night. They're also my giveaways tonight. Yay! So if you missed out, you can get into the running a couple of more times. Sweet. Of course, we'll get to the contest question after we tackle the news. So pretty cool. As you can see, there is new artwork for Old School Essentials. We've got a bit more color art throughout. If I remember correctly, the original Advanced Fantasy and Classic Rules tomes did have a little bit of color artwork, not a ton, but so it looks like there's quite a bit more. It's still mainly line artwork, black and white line artwork, but still looks like there's a little bit more color in the new updated books. All right, moving right along. Our friends over at Monte Cook Games are in the midst of a crowdfunding project for even more Cypher role-playing goodness. And here's the scoop on Cypher Advanced. The new edition of Cypher just launched last week, and the character rule book is now available. In fact, I have reviewed it. By all means, check it out. I liked it a bunch, but then again, I also do like Cypher. I think it's pretty interesting system. So to celebrate this new edition and showcase its flexibility, Monte Cook Games is holding a flash campaign for two really cool new Cypher books. As Monty and the team designed the new edition, they had loads of great ideas that could really make your game shine, but they weren't quite right for every game. There was no way to stuff all of these exciting optional rules and subsystems into the core books, but the company didn't want to just let them languish either. With more in-depth ways of looking at descriptors and species, additional detailed foci, a greater focus on equipment or weapons, the added color from longer character sentences, that's interesting, and dozens of other fun customizations, your Cypher campaign can really soar. And while they're at it, how about more creatures? The forthcoming Cypher GM's Guide and Cypher Bestiary will give you scores of exciting, memorable encounters. But who couldn't use more? Monte Cook Games has published the better part of 2,000 creatures for the original edition of Cypher. So they're going to bring 100 or so creatures, some popular, some brand new, to your campaign with the same highly detailed, lore-heavy treatment of the forthcoming first Cypher Bestiary. And this is actually going to be the Cypher Bestiary 2 Electric Boogaloo. Now I'm just throwing in the last bit on my own. You'll find a bounty of support for Cypher is on the way because you've got the Cypher GM's Guide, the Cypher Bestiary. Those are arriving in the next couple of months. The Cypher Character Options book, which hits early next year, as well as the Predation, Numenera, and The Strange campaign settings, all landing in 2027. Now Monte Cook's bringing you even more Cypher goodness. Whether you're a veteran player, someone just getting into the game now, or a complete newbie to Cypher, you're going to love what Monte Cook Games is adding to this fast-paced, super flexible, easy-to-GM game. So what is part of this backer kit? We've got 2 books. We've got Cypher Decoded, which is the additional new options. Then we get the Cypher Bestiary 2. We also have decks of cards. We've got Pocket Cypher, which I believe is a digital edition for your phone, or it's a pocket-sized book. I wasn't too sure which it was. I think it's digital, but I don't know. There are new Cypher character sheets. They're actually like character folios now. This is all parts of this Cypher Advanced Backer Kit project, which is fully funded. It's approaching 400% funding, about $200,000. It was at about 193 when I took a peek earlier today. If you want to get everything that's part of this project, you can reserve copies. It's 13 items. It's a pledge of $139, and that is through September 4th. There are options to just get 1 or 2 of the books. There's options just to get PDFs and so forth. But if you want physical items as well as the digital, it is a pledge of $139. Sweet. Very cool. This kind of popped out of nowhere. Actually, I think this launched last week. And I just kind of stumbled across it. And weirdly enough, I get news pieces. I get press releases from Monte Cook Games. And I don't know if this flew under my radar or they just kind of... I think this was a surprise for most people. Kind of cool. Kind of cool. I'm hoping to get an opportunity to review the GM guide, which is supposed to hit stores next month. So I think next month, or is it, maybe it's November. I thought it's pretty soon. For some reason, I thought it was September, and then November brings the bestiary. I could be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. So what can I tell you? Moving right along, arriving next month from Free League Publishing is Coriolis the Great Dark, The Fractured Library, and other tales of the Lost Horizon. Say that 5 times fast. Here's what I know. The Fractured Library and Other Tales from the Lost Horizon contains 5 adventures for Coriolis the Great Dark. They are all standalone, can be used by the GM anywhere in the charted sphere. The adventures set the explorers on different missions, from traveling to a secret library station to a forgotten moon. That's no moon. Yeah, actually it is. It's a forgotten moon where the void is filled with strange tones and wordless song. All adventures can also be incorporated into the campaign The Flowers of Algorab, which I have reviewed. It is awesome. Man, it would be such a blast to play in that campaign. Really good stuff. But let's get back to this book because it features the Fractured Library. Escort a mysterious cryopod to a secret research station where a catastrophic experiment has torn reality apart. The Octagon of Kuri help a mother find her estranged daughter in the sweltering jungles of Kuri. The Temple of Tomorrow. Investigate a towering ruin on a desolate moon before a rival gets there. The Helesto Troika. Safeguard a gazetteer and an algebraist investigating a builder monument in deep space. We've also got the Singing Moon. Investigate why resonance station Kepra has stopped transmitting and recover its lost data cubes. The Kumaranti, a new slipstream cruiser with background description, crew, and blueprint plans are also included. The 128-page hardcover with PDF will carry an MSRP of $39.99. It is slated to arrive in stores on September 29th. I will take a guess the PDF should be available right about that same time over on DriveThruRPG. More than likely for $19.99. Very cool. We've got new Coriolis of the Great Dark content on the near horizon. Coriolis is really interesting. The first edition of Coriolis is vastly different in tone and genre, actually, than the Great Dark. But both of them are really nicely done. And they are relatively different than just about any other science fiction role-playing games you're going to find out there. So not too shabby. All right, Tesco Love has popped on into chat. Welcome. Trollord Games continues to expand the world of Aird for the Castles and Crusades role-playing game, and I've got the lowdown on Syrian Heath. Syrian Heath is designed as an expansion to the world of Aird, as found in the Codex of Aird. It is a system-neutral release, although Castles and Crusades, right? But you can use it with any game system. It includes terrain descriptions, history, and adventure hooks. Mountains in their staggered wealth dominate the skyline. Restless in their mooring, they vomit filth into the sky, plumes of ash and smoke. Around them, a girdle of treeless plains, dry, arid, sun-baked. They offer little comfort for man or beast. These are the sunburnt, unsettled lands of the Syrian Heath. This is a wilderness, untamed. In the heath, no permanent dwellings lie. The dwarves found no purchase here, the goblins only in small numbers. The Enochians left only their crypts, and the lords of Ostrag, little more. Only the elves remain. The mountains stand unconquered, and the plains empty of road or path. It is a land of broad valleys and dusty, dry steppes. The Syrian Heath is a world primordial, a hint of what Ursal was like, what all of Erde was like in the days before days, when the named wandered wild and free. Those who come here are few, for it is a hunter's world, a haunt for rangers, where the unknown is the treasure worth seeking. If you're missing the Codex of Erde, it includes everything you need to start adventuring in one of the most expansive game settings you'll ever enjoy. Now, there are quite a few of these expansions which have arrived from Trollord Games. This 22-page softcover carries an MSRP of $9.99. If you want to bundle it with the PDF, you can do so for $12.99. And of course, if you want to score just the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $6.99. I have an upcoming review of another Castles and Crusades adventure. It is the Pestilent. Should have that out this weekend. I shared a review of Adel's Keep or Eredul's Keep last week. Pretty interesting adventure. Low-level adventure is actually utilized as a tournament adventure at the last GaryCon. I thought that was kind of interesting. So, got more Castles and Crusades coverage heading your way. Let's wrap up with our final news piece. The latest issue of Gary's Appendix has landed. It is number 10. And I've got the skinny from RPG Ramblings. Read for old school essentials. Gary's Appendix issue 10 is the Devil's issue. Summoning rituals, infernal geography, and the fine print of every deal your players are foolish enough to sign. I promise that's the last time I do the diabolical laugh tonight. So you want to summon a demon, covers the spells, the risks, and the very real chance of getting a devil when you wanted a demon, or vice versa. Tempters and Their Temptations by Shannon Appelkline introduces a new fiend type built to pass as human and tempt your NPCs toward sin. There is More to Hell Than Fire by John Konecki, tours 7 locations across the Hells, starting with the iron capital of Dis, each with an adventure hook ready to use. The Clan of 66 by Zach Goins details a Knoll cult bound in service to the demon prince Yinagu. Rounded out with the Loathsome Lair generator for building a fiend's lair as a hex flower, the Diabolical Deal generator for putting a price on every bargain your players strike. Gary's Appendix is an OSR zine inspired by the appendices of the original AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide. Articles that are enjoyable to read, informative to the GM, and probably most importantly, useful at your game table. Each issue does feature a rotating roster of contributors. This 44-page zine isn't available physically just yet. In fact, I do believe this just recently finished crowdfunding because the issues of Gary's Appendix do crowdfund. But when this does come out, and it should be shortly, I would expect it'll carry an MSRP of $20 like the previous issues. Now, the PDF is out. It is over at DriveThruRPG, and it is available for $10. And if you are not overly familiar with Gary's Appendix, it's a good zine. It is a very interesting zine. Now, I'll be honest, not every article is a home run, but there is way, way more good stuff than, kind of like, sort of stuff. In fact, there is an omnibus that collects the first 6 issues of Gary's Appendix, which is available. And it's actually really nicely done because it's kind of been formatted so that like the bestiary entries are all in one section. And then we've got like articles in one section. And then we've got like rule options in one. It's not all spread out. So it's not like, oh, here's issue 1, then issue 2, issue 3. So I like the way the omnibus was put together. Boomerman Dan Webb says they've collected issues 1 through 7. Nice. Very nice. So that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I've mentioned DriveThruRPG a few times. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to go visit, say, I don't know, DriveThruRPG, Storyteller's Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, any of the numerous One Bookshelf sites, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a 5% commission on most sales. And all those commissions really do add up, help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like the outlet, if you dig the Gaming Gang, if you find us to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, there are a couple other ways that you can help support the outlet. First of all, you can become, well, actually, I should say, first of all, you can make a one-time donation by way of PayPal. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Tonight, it's once again kind of weirdly humid down here. Don't know why. So that was a little refreshing there. You can also become a monthly member of our Patreon. And of course, all that information is to be found down in the show notes. Also in the show notes is an invite link to our Discord server. It's absolutely free to sign up. So be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. And of course, during all the live streams, I always like to give a shout out to our Patreon members. So tip of the cap goes to Ben Oldthwaite, Caval, Kevin R. Smith, Talzek, Peaceful Porcupine, William King, the Tabletop Scholar, Sean O'Donnell, Herman Lutman, Gustavo Cavalho, Kevin King, Game Cat, RPG Munch, Newcomer Ron Egan, Tier 2 DM, Far Adrift, Pete Stracklich, Dan Webb, Tessie Trekkie, Agile Monk, The Madman, and Flint Fireforge. Thank you all very much. And Boomerman Dan Webb says, yes, the omnibus is the way to go. So we are going to be taking a peek at Rivers of London, Underground, Overground in just a little bit. Before we do, I do want to reveal our contest winner from last night. So they were the only person actually to comment about the upcoming Dungeons and Dragons releases that they are curious about, that they're interested in. Every other commenter, okay, maybe not the vast majority of the other commenters, we're all whinging about Wizards of the Coast and why they won't come back. They won't spend a dime. And that's fine. I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. I already talked about this last night because it was our topic, whether Wizards of the Coast can bring back the old guard of Dungeons and Dragons with these nostalgic releases coming next year. And I was like, if they fumble Dark Sun to start off, I think they're going to be in trouble, right? But I'm willing to give Wizards of the Coast a chance. I'm hoping that they actually do right by these settings. Will it happen? Don't know. But I thought it was funny that just about 90% of the comments are all like super negative. It's like, doesn't matter what Wizards of the Coast would do. Those people aren't going back anyway. So it's sort of like, yeah, it's fine. Like I said, it's fine. Somebody actually commented about, after the open game license, and I always call it the open game license fiasco. Said after the open game license, they would never go back. And I commented and I said, the reality is there's far more than the open game license fiasco, which Wizards of the Coast actually walked back. I don't think a lot of people remember that part of it. It's like, you know, Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro peed themselves, and they're like, okay, no, we're not going to do that. Hey, you know what? We'll actually make it Creative Commons now. How's that? So, you know, just the thought that they were going to do it. So we're like, yeah, that's because that's how corporations work. It's like, come on. But corporations also panic easily and do walk back a lot of things. But anyway, I had commented that there was a lot more than just that pissed people off about Wizards of the Coast. Sort of like the open game license deal. I don't think that would be, you know, the deal breaker there. Anyway, so our contest winner, who's going to score a copy of the Old School Essentials Player's Book and Referee's Book in PDF, is Quentin Delgado. So, Quentin, if you're watching, email Jeff McAleer at thegaminggang.com. Use your email address that is associated with YouTube, your YouTube account, so it's a Gmail email, and then I will get you a link so you can download your contest winnings. So congratulations. I am actually going to give away 2 more copies. So it's tonight. So we had a trivia question. It is a 2-part question. So there are 2 answers, and they must be included on the same chat line for you to win. First person to get the 2 correct answers is going to win, unless they won last night. And I don't see Grouchy Lenny in chat with us tonight, so we don't have to worry about that. So the questions are, what is the highest grossing film which starred Tim Curry? And what was Tim Curry's favorite film role according to Tim Curry? And while you're sussing that out, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The management of this drive-in theater is happy to announce you can enjoy your favorite form of movie entertainment regardless of rain. No longer will it be necessary to let rain spoil your fun. Now you can keep your windshield clear and dry with a drizzle guard. Simply attach it to your windshield, and in a jiffy you're enjoying the movie without constantly running your windshield wipers. A drizzle guard will save you gasoline and wear and tear on your battery. After the show is over, all you do is take off your drizzle guard, roll it up, and it's ready to be used again, just like an umbrella. So next time it rains, don't sizzle in a drizzle. Get yourself a drizzle guard and enjoy the show. Drizzle guards are on sale now at the concession center.
Hi, I'm Chili Dilly, the personality pickle. Packed in a jar for the freshest flavor. Served cold in a sack for you to savor. So dainty to eat, no muss, no fuss. An ideal snack for all of us. Crisp, tender, and tasty with a bit of spice. Buy one now. Taste how nice. Snack bar clerks will knock themselves silly, speeding your order for a real Chili Dilly.
Hurry, folks. Step right up, shoot a duck, and win a jar of natural orange flavor Tang. It's the new improved Tang that tastes better than ever.
Boy, I like instant Tang, but I hate the idea of shooting a relative.
Just shoot one little duck, and get this big jar of Tang.
Tang? Goodbye, Auntie.
You missed, but you can't miss with Tang. And if you really want Tang at its best, make up a pitcher full and cool it off in the refrigerator overnight. Great for breakfast or any thirsty old time.
Just gotta win some of that Tang. Okay, Aunt Duck, hold still. Why, you miserable tankster.
Now wait, I was just kidding.
March. Step right up, folks. Hit the rabbit and win a big jar of Tang.
It's a living. Drink Tang, gang. It's Tangerific.
Captain Crunch, it's a sea monster.
A sea monster? Nonsense.
Oh!
I'll hold his attention. You go below and fire a broadside. Yeah, well, sea monster, sir. Have a taste of Captain Crunch. The cereal, I mean. Captain Crunch is already sweetened for you, and it stays crunchy even in milk. It tastes better without the bowl.
Ready, aim, fire!
Look, it was really my archenemy, Magnolia Bulkhead, and her pirate submarine. Imagine, a sea monster that eats cereal. Ridiculous.
Ridiculous? Oh, I wouldn't say that.
It's from Quaker.
Yum, yum, this Wilkins instant coffee is delicious.
And it's even better when it's mixed with boiling water.
Jabberwocky. So terrifying that no one will be admitted to the theater until the last 10 minutes of the film. No, I'm sorry. Only 10 people will be admitted to the theater during this film. No one will be admitted to the theater during this. The last 10 minutes only will be anyone being admitted under the age of 10.
No one will be admitted into the theater until the last 10 minutes of the film. Good old Jabberwocky. Been a long time since I've seen that. Weirdly enough, it's okay. It was the first Terry Gilliam movie that wasn't associated with Monty Python. I mean, there are some funny parts to it, but some of it just falls like really flat. All right, so Boomerman Dan Webb with the correct answer. It is Home Alone 2. I know there was a guess for Home Alone. He's not in Home Alone. He's in Home Alone 2. And according to Tim Curry, his favorite role was as Long John Silver in Muppet Treasure Island. And one of the reasons why he had such a good time with it was because the puppeteers stayed in character all the time on set. So if they were between scenes and he was talking to the puppeteer who was controlling Kermit, they were staying as Kermit. I thought that was kind of interesting. I had heard that before, that at least earlier Muppet movies, that the puppeteers always stay in character on set. So very cool. Let's see. So Ron Egan's with us. Yes. One of our Patreon members took a guess. Home Alone 2 and Rocky Horror. You only had the first one right. Here's something I do want to also mention about just how utter bullshit the AI is for its answers and stuff like that. Earlier today, I was kind of like, okay, so we'll do the trivia question. Will be, regarding Tim Curry. So I asked, what is Tim Curry's, what is the highest grossing film which featured Tim Curry? So I didn't necessarily have to be a star. You didn't have to be like top billing. And it came back as The Hunt for Red October, which is a good movie. It's like $200 million. I thought to myself, there is no way that's the highest grossing movie he was in. And sure enough, that was number 3. I was like, yeah, way to go, AI. So tonight we're going to dive on in. We are going to take a first look at Rivers of London, Underground, Overground from Chaosium Inc. This is written by Lynn Hardy, Paul Boldowski, Adam Gauntlet, and Paul Fricker. The 234-page hardcover, which I got to be honest, this doesn't look like it's 234 pages. We're going to find out in a minute, though. With PDF, carries an MSRP of $49.99. If you want to just grab the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $24.99. Having said that, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Underground, Overground for Rivers of London. A few things to mention before we get stuck in. First of all, my friends over at Chaosium Inc. were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this first look with you. And it's always important you know that. We're not going to look at each and every page of the book, but I do want to give you a good feel for what you're going to find inside. And then, of course, these are adventures. So if you're a player and your game master runs Rivers of London, and maybe they've picked this up, maybe they've talked about picking this up, keep in mind, even though I know nothing about this outside of the 4 adventures have been available in PDF previously, there's going to be some spoilers. We're going to see spoilers as we flip on through this. So I just want to warn you right up front. All right, let's get the shrink wrap off. And we will take a quick peek at the back. Underground, Overground, the case file collection, contains 4 case files for Rivers of London, the role-playing game, each set in the United Kingdom's bustling capital city. This book also contains new spells and guidelines on how to create a talking fox investigator. Yeah. Also includes an exclusive piece of microfiction by Ben Aronovich, the absolutely true and accurate account of how the foxes got their voices back. Going underground, the investigators are asked to look into strange occurrences at a fabled ghost station on the London tube system. The font of all evil, a gruesome murder in South Ealing, draws the investigators into a tale of dark obsession set in the world of mudlarking. The Goat Man is Coming follows up on a potential mugging in an urban nature reserve. Turns out to be far more complicated than the investigators expected. And then we got Jimmy's Last Dance. The investigators must navigate the murky world of greed and betrayal within families. They are to save an old woman from deportation. Well, that's kind of interesting there. Okay. All righty. Dan Webb is asking, has anyone read any of the novels? I listened to the first audiobook of this. This Rivers of London is urban fantasy. And it's not like it's a unique urban fantasy. I know some urban fantasy out there is like, romantic fantasy. That's not the case here. This is a little more procedural, I guess I would say. That it's kind of like investigations and stuff. or what's going on in this. So this little flying bug has been zipping on by all night long. He just landed, and it is no more. I hate having to do that, but flying gnat kind of bugs just drive me up the wall because it just keeps flying past me, and I keep catching it in the corner of my eye, and it distracts me for a sec. All right. So Flint Fireforge is with us. Histio has just popped on in, says they've read most of them. The first 3 books are much more gritty. The later books are lighter in tone. Yeah, I'm not familiar with all the books, but as far as the role-playing game goes, I would say it toes a line kind of between being real light fable-ish fantasy and real like gritty reality. All right, so let's take a peek at the credits. A lot of folks worked very hard to bring this to life. Got our play testers. Karifa Aranovich was one of the play testers. I wonder if that's Ben's wife or maybe one of their children. Kind of interesting there. All right, we got some special thanks. We have clear credits. I like how Chaosium Inc. has been including these in their releases as of late, where like if it's kind of like an updated edition of an adventure or there's some sort of concepts that are in the book that are built off of someone else's creation, they tell you right up front. I think that's pretty cool. All right. So, yes, this is actually 234 pages. I'm sorry, 32 pages. I'm telling you, this book did not look like it was. Here, I'll show you. That did not look like it was going to be 232 pages. This looked like this was closer to like the 128s that we'll see, or the 164s, kind of like that. Anyway, see what we got. Oh, here's the microfiction. What's in this book? Let's start with what this collection doesn't contain. There you go. That's nice. The rules necessary to run these case files. For those, you need the Rivers of London, the role-playing game core rulebook, which of course I have reviewed. And it is sold separately. Now that's out of the way, let's look at what it does contain. Chapter 1, Going Underground, is about strange occurrences in the London tubes. Okay, so we got the first 4 chapters are the adventures, or the case files, I guess we will say. Appendix A is new spells from various magical traditions. And then Appendix B contains the rules for creating a talking fox investigator. Talking foxes are a firm favorite with fans of the novels, so we felt it only fair to design rules that will allow players the option of bringing one to life as part of the game. Those playing in American-based campaigns can use the same rules to create talking raccoon investigators instead. And then Appendix C is a bibliography and resources section. What can my players read? Obviously not the case files. So as you can see, there's a bit of a lighter tone to just the presentation of this already. So it's more conversational than anything else. All right. So remember, keep in mind, we're going to see some spoilers here. I am going to skip pages. So Going Underground is a standalone case file designed for 2 to 4 investigators. It should take 1 to 2 sessions to play, depending on the player's choices. Set sometime in 2016, it takes the investigators down beneath London's streets to a largely disused part of the world-famous London Underground, the tube system, only a short walk away from the Folly. So, once again, if you're not overly familiar with Rivers of London, the Folly is actually kind of like a secret organization that investigates the paranormal, and they know all about the various different factions and things like that, because not every supernatural entities are going to be malevolent. Some are actually, assisting the Folly. Not all, but, some. And then there are like factions who are all vying for kind of control of London. So W. Forge says, scariest scene in the London Underground was in An American Werewolf in London. That scene always freaks me out. Good movie. All right, so let's see. See what our background is here. The London Underground, also known as the Tube, ferries millions of passengers beneath London every year. Okay. Okay, so that's giving us just information. Damn it, another little flying bug. Where the hell are these things coming from? He's reincarnated. It's like, yep, it's the one I killed coming back to life. That's like a wasp. Yeah, take some of that with you, buddy. Even before the British Museum became a ghost station, i.e. no longer used by passengers, it gained a reputation for being haunted by the ghost of an ancient Egyptian princess and or priestess called Amun-Ra or Amun-Ra, whose unlucky mummy resided in the British Museum a short distance away. Late at night, dressed only in a loincloth and richly jeweled headdress, the mummy's ghost was said to wander from the museum to the station via a secret tunnel linking the two. Once there, she terrified station staff and passengers, and later those at Holborn Station too, with her hideous screams. Screams that were allegedly capable of stealing your very soul. Such was British Museum's reputation that just before its closure, a handsome cash reward was offered by two newspapers to anyone fearless or foolish enough to stay on their own on the station's platform overnight. There's that damn bug just landed on the book. Yeah. So there's a grain of truth to this. As is so often the case, the urban legend wasn't entirely accurate. A mummy did start wandering from the museum to its eponymous station in 1933, but her name wasn't Amun-Ra, nor was she unlucky, at least not for other people. Mostly she was Mary Mishet, a healer enchantress who served at the shrines dedicated to Sobek-Ra and Hathor at the old temple of Kam Ambo sometime during the early Ptolemaic period. Okay. She's no ordinary mummy, is what it says here. Although not really aware of her new home in the British Museum, Mary has once again is surrounded by children as she has been in life, and so she was content. Being removed from display and away from the children's wonder and laughter was the start of a new chapter in what she views as her somewhat unorthodox afterlife. Interesting. So the player characters are going to be investigating this tube station, which is no longer in use. And I should mention that Rivers of London, the role-playing game, is more of an investigatory role-playing game. I mean, there's action, don't get me wrong. I would say it, although, of course, obviously, the genre and theme are completely different than Call of Cthulhu. It does share some similarities where the investigators are peeling away different layers to the mystery. All right, so that is this? Oh yeah, that's still the adventure. So I guess that's the mummy. That's kind of wild. Okay. Then we've got the font of all evil. It's like it's somebody finding something, like maybe a diamond or something. A tiny apartment in Ealing, West London is the scene of a brutal murder. Edgar Marsh, runaway and eldest child of a wealthy family, turned dilettante and shoreline scavenger, has fallen foul of an old and malignant curse channeled by arrogant rival collector. Should be an arrogant, right? In fact, there's a space there where Anne should have been. Robert Coach, an act driven by a conflict over a mutual obsession, a piece of movable, reusable metal printer's type owned by Edgar and coveted by Couch and inflicted on the victim via supernatural means. This murder is far from ordinary. The local police agree. As far as they and their superiors are concerned, the strange state of the victim and their home places the crime firmly within the purview of the Special Assessment Unit, aka the Folly. So it's movable print. That's kind of wild. I actually took 2 years of print shop when I was in high school. So we used to actually, I went to Lane Tech in Chicago, huge school. I think like 6,000 students, pretty wild. And we actually made our own yearbook, unlike, just about every other school would send out. No, we would actually print it up ourselves. So I know all about linotype and stuff like that. All right, so it looks like most of this tale is going to take place in the apartments. It's like there's some storage units as well. Something else you will see throughout the Rivers of London releases are these blue boxes with GM advice. So here, as an example, it says, remember to remind, even encourage players to spend luck on skill rolls to assess the benefits of a hard success. In a one-shot adventure like The Font of All Evil, folk can sometimes be overly cautious about using their resources, but the standalone nature of this case file offers the players a perfect opportunity to be utterly frivolous with their luck points. Don't feel you need to hammer the point home with every roll, though. 1 or 2 gentle reminders, something along the lines of, don't hoard your luck points, folks. Spend them like they're going out of fashion. Should hopefully keep the possibility in the forefront of their minds for the rest of the session. That makes sense. Because in like a Call of Cthulhu campaign, lots of luck getting your players to spend luck. It's like they'll hoard that, even though they'll get little drips and drabs of luck back. Mudlarking. I don't know what mudlarking is. Is that like kind of going along the shore of the Thames, like looking for stuff? I think that's what it is. I think that's what mudlarking is. All right. So I guess I was wrong about the adventure taking place mainly in that apartment. It looks like there's quite a lot of other things going on here in other locations. The power of the press. As long as the investigators are part of the Folly, they have been trained how to handle a member of the Demimonde attempting to use the glamour on them. This means that when the font attempts to glamour an investigator during a confrontation, The investigator only has to comply with the font's demands if they fumble their power roll to resist. Otherwise, it's up to them whether they comply or not. And then some more information about using magic against the font. It's like there's some sort of mystical bear. Histio says yes. So I guess they're responding to my guess at what mudlarking is. The Goat Man is coming. There you go. Grouchy Lenny's with us tonight. So this was written as a convention scenario. 2 nights ago, Terry Dobson was physically assaulted as he walked his Welsh Corgi Rex along a stretch of the Parkland Walk near his home on Claremont Road. He dutifully, if a little reluctantly, reported the attack to the desk officer at Hornsey Police Station the following morning. His reticence was largely due to the fact that his assailant resembled a figure from local urban legend, the Goat Man. The desk officer didn't read anything more into the assault and filed it away as either an unsuccessful mugging or teenagers mucking about. However, when PC Amalia Hollis came on duty this morning and saw the report, her recently completed training as a Falcon liaison officer suggested there might be something more to the incident. So in accordance with official guidelines, she contacted the Special Assessment Unit to request their assistance. An urban legend is born. I don't know. Is there really a legend of a goat man? I know there's Springy Heel Jack. And so here we've got our NPCs. It says GM advice. The investigators have a lot of choice in this case file with regards to where they visit and who they talk to. As a result, it's much less of a linear scenario than going underground or the font of all evil. This is why we suggest that it be used as a follow-on case file rather than an introductory one. It isn't that it's particularly difficult, but there are potentially a lot of moving parts for you and your players to keep track of. Return of the Goat Man. Extra, read all about it. Hissio says, mudlarking is an ancient trade looking for valuables at low tide. Also included the sewers. Yeah, and I understand that people to this day will still find things from the 17th, 18th century wash up. I think that's pretty wild. Okay, scene of the crime. It says, regardless of the time of day or which part of the walk the investigators find themselves on, they quickly come across a variety of joggers and dog walkers making good use of the footpath. While it takes a successful luck roll to flag down a jogger who's willing to stop and talk to them, the dog walkers are far more amenable to having a chat. Well, yeah, because they're walking dogs. They're not running. Hissio says they just found an old sword recently, almost 500 years old. That's pretty cool. So I guess there's Goatman-related graffiti. All right. So it looks as if there is a tree nymph involved with this. Seems to be relatively long adventure here, a little bit longer than the first two, it seems. Although they were of a good length too, as far as page count. So I'm kind of surprised that this was a convention scenario, although this has probably been fleshed out a bit more. That must be the goat man. What is the character Charlie sings about in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Isn't it Nightman? The Nightman? He wrote like this rock opera, which is insane. All right. I was gonna say that's fairly long adventure there, or case file. I keep calling them adventures. Jimmy's Last Dance. Let's see. What can we? There we go. Uh-oh, content warning. This case file deals with discriminatory government. It also includes. Oh yeah, this is going to be the one where they're trying to save the woman from being deported. It also includes potential knife violence, particularly in the finale. So he's trying, well, yeah, but isn't there some like conflicts in the other ones too? So it's talking about busting out an X card if you want to utilize that. So as far as the story, a local gang known as the Red Jack Crew was in the middle of outfitting a domestic residence in Kingsmere Close, Putney, to grow cannabis when one of its members was attacked and hospitalized by a man dressed as a pirate. Dark. The owner of the house, Hyacinth, I always screw up how to pronounce this name, Hyacinth Powell, recently moved into Latimer House Nursing Home, and at present, the property is in the care of her son-in-law, Joe Campbell. Joe is conspiring to have the old lady deported with the help of former school friend turned crooked lawyer, Rick Flood. Flood, a close associate of the Red Jack Crew, knew that the gang was looking for additional premises and tipped them off that Hyacinth's former home was empty, hence them making use of it in her absence. But who is the mysterious pirate assailant? Currently known as Jimmy Garlic, his corpse has rested in various locations within the Church of St. James, Garlithine, since the 1600s. For the purposes of this case file, Jimmy's real identity is Captain Francis Capavert, a soldier, privateer, vintner, and Moor, a term used at the time to refer to both the Muslim rulers and residents of Spain between the 8th and 15th century, and to black people in general, particularly enslaved North Africans. At some point in his life, Francis also became a practitioner, although when he did is a matter of great speculation, as folly records concerning London's magic users before the Society's foundation are sketchy at best. Nowadays, Jimmy's a bit of an odd one, hovering somewhere between a ghost and a genius loci, thanks to all those years spent resting in a particularly potent location close to the River Thames and the River Walbrook. Aha! So he is some sort of ghostly entity. Talk like a pirate? Question mark. Jimmy may be a pirate, but he's from London, so he doesn't sound like Robert Newton's attempt at a Bristol accent in the movie Long John Silver, the archetype for what most people think pirates talk like. He's a man of his time, though, meaning that he uses words like thee, thou, thy, and thine instead of you, your, and yours when speaking casually to a single person. He still uses you if he's being formal and or talking to more than one person. GMs who want to go the extra mile when speaking as Jimmy may even wish to look up some 17th century British slang on the internet for added authenticity. Okay. See, I'm kind of getting the feeling that this might be a little bit of a lighter adventure, but it also mentioned, well, there's knife violence, possibility of knife violence in this. So I don't know. But yeah, as we can see, there's a lot of stuff here as far as investigating these case files and interviewing various different NPCs. So we have different incidents taking place. I would guess that this adventure is probably a little more linear than the previous one because we're getting different incidents. Grand Theft Corpse. What, did somebody steal Jimmy's body? I bet you that's the case. Grouchy Lenny says, one thing they like about Chaosium is their games in historical settings will have little tidbits of history and interesting real-world settings. Yeah, when I started running Call of Cthulhu, now remember, this is way back before we had the internet. So your research was done by way of library books or purchasing books. I really started learning a lot more about the 1920s and 30s. And I always try to sprinkle in like historical events taking place. Every once in a while, I would throw in like historical NPCs. Like one adventure, I want to say, I think it was Massive Nyarlathotep. No, maybe it must have been something else. The investigators are going from New York to Boston, and they just happen to be on the train that has the New York Yankees car on it. So it kind of hobnobbed with the New York Yankees of the day. I thought that was kind of cool. So we got some new spells. We have Bortnik. While there are versions of the spell in many cultures, this variation is an old Russian peasant spell designed to drive away bees so that the caster can harvest honey from natural hive or handle an artificial hive without the use of protective gear or smoke. The name roughly translates to honey hunter. We have finger hold. Spell was developed by the Society of the Rose to aid its more adventurous members. It displaces a small quantity of rock, brick, or earth from beneath a climber's fingertips, thus allowing them to gain a handhold. We also have lodestone. I would say probably creates a lodestone. Paraflui. What does that do? It uses air to create a thin convex lens of air. So it's AER. To create a thin convex lens of air above the caster to keep them dry when it rains. Okay. So these are fairly low power spells here. I think they're circles. Or no, orders. That's what they are. They're orders. Hissio says, not really sold on the art style of the Rivers line. So also keep in mind that these 4 adventures appeared separately already as PDFs. So there's going to be kind of uneven, obviously, as far as the artwork goes. It's all right. It's fine. I don't think it's a huge selling point of the line. And it also has quite a bit of artwork that's fairly, oh, look at that. Just open right to it. Fairly mundane. Although I think this is probably supposed to be a point of view of a family you're interviewing or something. Here we got our fox character creation. Regular urban foxes, to give them their then it's in Latin, okay, have been a permanent fixture of London life since shortly after the Second World War. Omnivorous hunters and scavengers, I don't know why I vapor lock there, They were quick to adapt to urban living. By 2006, it was estimated that there were around 10,000 of them residing in the capital. Experts and wildlife charities believe that the number has remained pretty much the same ever since, though no official surveys have been conducted to confirm that the population has, in fact, stabilized. While much is known about London's urban foxes, that isn't the case when it comes to their larger talking cousins. For starters, no one really knows when they first arrived in London, although it was probably not long after the regular kind. No one knows how many of them there are either. It's not entirely clear how the talking foxes acquired the power of speech, although they see it more as regaining something that they gave away a very long time ago. All right. So, some discussion of playing a talking fox. The number of occupations available to a talking fox are pretty limited. Basically, there's only 2 appropriate ones, and of those, only one works really well for an investigator. Unsurprisingly, that's the new spy occupation just coming up. The other, see Boffin's box right there. You get their characteristics, their movements, skills. So not only do we get the new Fox player character, looks like we also get a new spy occupation. We get Talking Fox experience packages. And then we've got our bibliography and resources. So that is a peek inside Rivers of London, Underground, Overground from Chaosium Inc. And yes, I will have a review of this fairly shortly. I'd say probably the next couple of weeks or so. You should be able to check it out. And once again, thank you to my friends over at Chaosium Inc. for providing this review copy. Yay! All righty. So that is it for this time out. So Boomerman Dan Webb said, 3 years of high school Latin just to read an RPG blurb 45 years later. And Grouchy Lenny says, high school Latin useful in the practices of law, medicine, and RPGs. Grouchy Lenny also pointed out they like to tap historical things for their Call of Cthulhu scenarios. Been reading up in 1960s asylums for the one they're writing. Yeah. Are we going to get lobotomies in there? I think they were still, or was it the late 50s where they finally started to realize, lobotomies might not be such a great idea. I think the early 50s, it was still fairly popular. Don't know. Anyway, so what are we going to do tomorrow? Let's see. I believe, unless something magically shows up. Hey, speaking of things magically showing up, I mentioned yesterday that I had no idea what was going on with Modifius Entertainment because I hadn't got any word of anything being shipped out. And my contact had said, oh, yeah, the warehouse has the order. And I emailed her yesterday because it was about 8 days after I got that email. Just let her know, hey, I hadn't seen anything. And, usually when publishers use a third-party warehouse such as Chaosium Inc., I always get an email telling me, hey, we got your order, and this is what the order has. And when it ships out, hey, it's shipped out. Hadn't seen any of that. So I reached out and let her know. And then today, I get an email saying, all right, your order's been accepted, and it's going to be shipping out soon. So we are going to get an opportunity to take a look at Fallout, Battle for Boston. I think that's Fallout Factions. Not positive. And then we're going to get to see the Discworld role-playing game core book and Star Trek Adventures 2nd edition core book 2. So we'll be seeing those. Anyway, I was thinking what we might do is dive on into another release from Fantasy Games Unlimited. So I've got the box or World. And you may recall we were talking about how Bill Willingham does a good amount of artwork in this. This is super light, really light. I don't know if it's got dice in here or maybe they're counters or something. So this is supposed to be, I'm sure it's like set like the 1980s because that's when it came out. But I think it's like espionage, but with psychic powers. Let's see. Let's take a peek. Like I said, I think that's Cyworld is a fast-paced game of action and excitement set in a near-future world wherein psychic powers have appeared in a small portion of the human race. All you need... So it should have been all you need to add to the game, but it says all you need add to the game are paper, pencils, and lots of your own imagination. Pretty nice artwork there. So we're going to take a peek at that. And I also have Underground Railroad, which is an adventure for Cyworld. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll take a peek at that on tomorrow's show. I see our good friend of the show, Agile Monk, has popped on into chat. Very nice. Very cool. Semper Buffo says 4 years of Latin is helping a lot in games like Lex Arcana or Cohor's Cthulhu. I think that would be pretty useful with that too. So Hissio says, I don't think anything by FGU could be fast-paced. Their games are pretty crunchy. I don't know. We took a look at Flashing Blades, and that didn't seem overly complex. But yeah, I would think Aftermath, I seem to recall that was fairly crunchy. I seem to remember Space Opera was kind of hefty. Bushido was sort of middle of the pack. I don't recall there being a lot of crunch to Bushido, but it wasn't rules light either. In fact, nothing I had any experience with from FGU was rules light. But I've never actually taken a peek at Cyworld. So very cool. And then I also have another, trying to remember, we'll take a look at this, the next one, probably in a couple of weeks. And it's sort of like Red Dawn. So Hissio says, Space Opera, definitely. Grouchy Lenny says, Aftermath, the definition of a crunchy role-playing game. Agile Monk says they've played about 7 different FGU games, and about half of them were pretty crunchy. Agile Monk says they love Daredevils and Space Opera. Kevin R. Smith has popped on in here asking, did FGU do the original Chivalry and Sorcery? Yes. Yes, they did. That I do know. I think it actually got more complex in later editions. It's like, I think it was probably like a box set like this. Now you're getting like a 1-inch box. So, I don't know. We'll find out. We'll take a peek. All righty. So that's it for this time out. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, you get a tip of the cap. Because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I'm sharing the news or flipping on through a role-playing game book or talking about a topic. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you for taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the channel. It is much appreciated. Now, of course, if you like the video, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. And if you ring the bell, select all notifications, because that way, not only will you be notified when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings, 7 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I share other videos, such as my recent review of Dragonbane Arcend City of Waves and Flames from Free League Publishing. And of course, when you're not watching videos here on the channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for our latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are never going to see here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching. And until I see you next time, certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.